Hey there, welcome back to the Blissful Biz podcast. Today's guest is someone whose story is both deeply inspiring and refreshingly real. I'm talking to Giovanna Silvestre, visionary trailblazer and creator of the brand Confused Girl in the City. Giovanna's journey took her from the glamour of Hollywood to a dark night of the soul that led to deep healing, spiritual awakening, and a bold leap into entrepreneurship. She launched a yoga wear brand inspired by healing crystals, which took off internationally, and she's now about to publish her first book, Confused Girl: Find Your Peace in the Chaos, with Blackstone Publishing. It's part memoir, part guidebook, and 100% honest, written during 2 years of solo travel around the world. This conversation goes deep. We talk about identity, embracing confusion, surrendering control, and what it really means to build a soulful business that's aligned with who you are. Let's dive in. I'm Susanne Reicher, digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience, turned yoga teacher, turned six-figure online business owner. 10 years ago, I flew to Bali for a yoga teacher training, fell in love with the island, and decided to build an online business so I could live there. Can't be that hard, right? That decision launched me into an adventure bigger than I'd ever imagined. Over the last 8 years, I've guided over 1,000 yoga teachers and heart-led coaches how to launch and sell their digital offers, build their brand and websites, and build a profitable online business. In this podcast, I share real proven strategies and the exact steps that work. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, we'll dive into everything from creating offers your students can't resist to making digital marketing work for you. If you're ready to build a business that brings both freedom and success, you are in the right place. Hi, Giovanna. Welcome to the Blissful Biz podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with introducing yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so my name's Giovanna Silvestre, and I started the yoga wear line, Confused Girl in the City, about a little over a decade ago. And that originated from, oh gosh, the dark, like I went through the dark night of my soul and got myself out of a really dark depression. And then once I started to feel better about myself, I was still confused. I was like, I am still confused about who I am and what I want to do in life. So I started a video blog because video blogs at the time were the thing. And it was called Confused Girl in the City because I was like, the most authentic thing about myself right now is that I am confused. And I wanted to take the shame out of feeling confused. I think a lot of the time we shame ourselves because we don't have all the answers. And I just kind of realized that that was silly. And I don't think we should do that because no one is born with a manual on how to do their life. I mean, we don't come in with like, okay, avoid this guy, don't date him. Okay, marry this one. This is gonna be good for them. Nobody has instructions. So we're all just figuring it out as we go. And so that's why I wanted to call the vlog Confused Girl in the City. And what I did was every week I did one new thing in an attempt to figure out who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like. And I thought by doing enough things that don't lead to somewhere, I'm hoping that it does lead to somewhere. Like I figure some things out about myself. And I really did. And it took me on this amazing spiritual journey. And I was doing lots of yoga at the time. And especially at like over a decade ago when I started my yoga wear line, there wasn't a lot of yoga clothes. Like it was Lululemon, which was very niche, and a couple of very niche brands. And then most of your sporting stuff was for runners or people like gym people, not really yogis. So I created a line of yoga wear that's inspired by healing crystals. And each one of my designs is inspired by a different healing crystal. So it's very intentional, very intentional. And then now I do other things too. I have, my leggings, the crystal inspired leggings, but I also have like hoodies,
Choose
shoes,
love. I love that.
I have a bee that says choose love, so different things. And then, my yoga wear line, after a lot of hustling and struggling all over Los Angeles with it, I finally got it off the ground. And but for about 5 years, it was very popular and I was selling all over the world. Like many people in Europe bought it. Like I sold a lot to Germany and all over Europe. And so I got this inspiration to write a book, and I was like, "You know what? I really have to share what I went through, as far as getting it like falling into a depression, how I got myself out of a depression, how I went on this spiritual journey, and I'm really, and I say this very honestly, is like I really wake up every day very grateful and very happy for my life. Even if when I wake up and I'm cranky or tired or something not so great happens in the day, I don't totally fall down a pit of despair. I still have a level of contentment and joy in my being. And so and then I went out and I'm really doing the life I want to do and doing the things I want to do. And I do believe that was all possible because I went inward and I discovered things about myself and I got to know myself and I embraced my confusion and I started to see confusion as a virtue and a beautiful like fuel for my self-discovery journey. So I was like, I have to share this. I have to share all these things that I've learned because the world is getting more and more confusing as we go. And so, I moved to Bali for a year to write my book. Then I moved to Berlin and I finished my book in Berlin. And yeah, and then I went on this crazy journey to get a publisher. And finally, after 7 years, I started writing the book 7 years ago. It's being published, and I'm just so grateful.
I'm so excited for you. And can I just say it's like one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. I love the cover. And beautiful is not really right. It's just like really speaks. It's so fitting. It's just like with the title and the ping. And I just know it's going to be a huge success. Everybody who sees that cover in a bookshop is going to want to buy it. When they and that also the title "Confused Girl in the City," I think that just resonates with a lot of
People.
especially, yeah, not even only younger girls, but all kind of women.
Well, and that was the thing too, and that's definitely what the publishing company said as well, because we're old. Like for me, I'm always going to be a confused girl. I mean, I learned something in my in my 20s, so I know now I'm in my 30s. It's like okay, I know that, but now there's new things that you
Let me tell
about.
you, I'm in my 50s. I'm still confused. No, I mean, I'm probably less confused. The amazing thing about getting older that you just don't give a damn anymore what anybody else thinks.
That
So,
is
and that's really freeing.
that is such a beautiful thing. That is such an amazing thing, and it's true. Like as I'm getting older too, especially with dating. There are things that I used to be really insecure about and I used to worry about or obsess about that I just don't even think about anymore. Like I don't care,
Yeah.
which is such a beautiful thing about getting older and I love. But I mean, as far as like, let's say you get married or you're getting a divorce or you have kids or your kids are going off to college, there's always going to be these moments in your life where confusion comes in and you're like, well, now what? Now what do I do? Now how should I be? And so even let's say when you're facing death or an illness. So life's always going to throw some confusion at you. And I think if you can really embrace it and learn how to use it and start to change the perspective instead of I'm scared of change. I'm scared of the unknown. More of like, ooh, this is my next adventure.
No, I love that. It's great. So, have you always been an entrepreneur, or what did you do before? How did you get started?
Well, so my family, they owned an Italian restaurant. So I grew in because my dad is from Italy. And so in California, I grew up in there working in their Italian restaurant. So I think I always had this entrepreneurial side because of my family. But I went to college and it's interesting, even though my parents were entrepreneurs, they, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to give you a good education. You're going to go to really good schools and then you get a good job. So it was like, get a good job. That was the goal. It wasn't like start your own business. It was get a good job. Because I think for my dad, he's like, I didn't get to have an education. I just had to come here and start working and I figured out the business and he was very successful. But I think for him, it's like the American dream was get a good high paying job with a big corporation. And little doggy. And so I after I graduated from school, I started working in the film industry in Los Angeles. And I worked in that for several years and I got really high up. I worked for a lot of celebrities and on big projects and it was very exciting and all of that and I learned so many things. But you're dealing with a lot of narcissistic personalities that it's just overwhelming and defeating. And I got really tired of it. It was killing my soul, and I just thought, "Okay, this is not in alignment with what I want." And then I went and thought, "Well, maybe I'm supposed to take over my parents' restaurant." So I went back home and I took over the restaurant for almost 2 years, and I was miserable doing that too. And then that's when I fell into a big depression because I've spent all of my 20s doing things that make me miserable. And and then I also felt like I didn't have a real skill set. I felt like, well, the restaurant I kind of grew up in and kind of knew. And then in the industry, I was like assistant to celebrities and stuff. And so it wasn't like Excel, PowerPoint, economics, it was more like people skills and being good with people. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I felt bad. I felt like I didn't have a skill set after so many years. And I felt like I had just wasted a lot of time. And also at that point, I realized that I had been doing things that I thought looked cool because especially in that time in Los Angeles, the tech industry was just starting out and that was in Silicon Valley. So the tech industry really wasn't even in LA. And so LA was really film industry. So, and you wanted to be a part of it because that's where, you went to parties and you did fun things and you made friends and networking. And that's what everybody talked about. And if you weren't a part of it, they didn't want you around. And so that became a part of my identity was being a part of that scene. And so I was like, okay, well, now I'm not worth anything because I'm not working in the industry anymore. And then I was trying to make my parents happy by taking over their business and alleviating their stress and continuing the family legacy. And I was like, and I can't do that. That made me miserable. So, and I didn't know what I wanted to do or who I was. So I just fell into this really deep depression. And and then what was really great about it though, what was so great is because I felt like I lost everything that I had identified with. I was like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me anymore. And I feel so bad about myself that I can't really care. And and then I thought, well, you know what? I've had all these things that I thought I should have that didn't make me happy, and I'm in this place. So I think I have to stop attaching my happiness to external things. I have to stop attaching who I am to Giovanna works in the film industry and is friends with these people, or Giovanna's taking over her family business and making her parents proud. It's like I have to figure out who Giovanna is without anything. And I want to like her. Like I want to like her. I want to enjoy being with her, and I want to feel good inside my skin without anything external having happened. Like, I don't want to feel good because I have a new man or I have a new job or I have more money or I have a new car or a new outfit. I want to feel good about me just because I exist in the world.
Oh, I love that. No, that's such an inspiring story. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that, you know. I mean, pretty much, I think everybody, we all have to find our way in the world. Yes, there are those people from the outside. It looks like they have the perfect focus, and there's just like one milestone after the next milestone. But
Yeah.
that's what it looks like from the outside. We don't really
Ex-
know what's going on. And yeah, I mean, the sooner you have those little crises, the faster you get out of them, probably as well. What I love about your story is, and maybe it's really a little bit of your, because of your entrepreneurial family background, that you've been able to combine your spiritual journey with also a business journey, like creating your collection, starting your YouTube show,
Ye yes.
promoting it.
Yeah, no, that it's everything. See, people are like, "Oh, so how do you do the business and then the spiritual?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's all together now." Like, everything is like, I everything is so intertwined. It's just like one thing now. You know, it's like everything that I do now in business is spiritual. There is no separation of the two there. Everything is like on in that way. I kind of, after I got to know myself and, I went on my entrepreneurial journey to, make my yoga clothes, which was so inspiring for me to do. I was so inspired to do it because yoga really saved me. Because at that time, when I was so down and out, my I have a very hyper obsessive brain. And so it was like like my brain was like on a record player, and it was just playing all of my shortcomings, how I wasn't good enough, how I wasn't worth anything. And it had gotten so bad I couldn't shut it off. And I had this roommate in LA, and again, yoga wasn't as mainstream then as it is now. So keep that in mind. So I had not done yoga before. And so she said, "Hey, let's, come with me to a yoga class. I think you'll really like it." So I went to a yoga class with her, and the obsessive thinking stopped. And the record player of all the things I hated about myself stopped. And then even after the yoga practice, there was like a period of calmness where it the record wasn't playing. Then the record started up again, but I was like, whoa, I was able to get this break from my negative thinking. So if I continue to do yoga, then maybe that will grow. And I was doing a bunch of other things at the time to try to reprogram my mind onto a more positive mindset and connecting with myself. And so it was like all of these things together that I was doing. But the yoga was really great for like the mind break. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, I want to make, yoga wear. And I also saw the market for it as well. And I saw that, yoga clothes, not everybody was making yoga clothes. Like only a few companies were making them. So I'm kind of like a OG in the yoga legging world. I mean, now every company makes them, but back in the day, it was, and it was very successful for quite a few years. And then when so much competition entered the market, then my sales went down, obviously, and I couldn't compete with all the big companies making their stuff in China. But what was so cool is it gave me the opportunity to go write my book and live abroad for a couple of years. So see, and this is how I look at things now too. Like when something comes, I'm supposed to have it. When something goes, I'm not supposed to have it anymore. And so that's why also I feel like my spiritual journey and my entrepreneurial journey is one. And I write about this in my book as well. It's like when the yoga leggings stopped making so much money, I wasn't holding on to it or I wasn't feeling bad about it. I was like, okay, now what am I supposed to transition into? What is the next step for me? And then the book took off. And then I'm on this book journey. And so, but if I had been obsessive about that and had all the negative thoughts and thought, oh, I'm a failure and all of that, then maybe these other opportunities wouldn't have opened up for me. So I've learned to really just flow with life. And sometimes I don't like it. Like it's not like I like all of this. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to flow down this river.
I
This
know.
river.
Sometimes I feel, can this year just be like the abundance and not just all the teachings and learnings?
Yeah, exactly. No, there are these funny like
Yeah.
me on Instagram where it's like a monkey calling the universe. And
Mm.
it's like, we please like stop with the lessons and the growing this year. Can you just bring in the abundance, you know? Oh, wow. Like sometimes I don't like the river I'm having to flow down. And I might have like a little tantrum for a minute. And then I'm like, no, 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 but this is good. This is good. Cause I always believe something good is around the corner. And I think that's true if you're willing to go through the hard stuff and learn the lessons. And so now I have to say what happened with my book and also with my father really showed me how much I have grown and how dedicated I am to my spiritual journey. Um, I'll tell you because I can't just say that and not tell you what happened. So okay, when I came back, actually, so I was a year in Bali, a year in Berlin, then COVID hit. I came back to LA. And my place in LA was still rented. So I actually went 3 hours north to my parents' house. And I was with my parents during COVID, which I'm so great. Thank God I'm so grateful for now because at the time I didn't know that, my dad was gonna get cancer
Mm.
and way. So I I got a book agent during COVID. And then for 2 years, my book was rejected by publishing companies, right? And then at this time, my father got sick with cancer and was basically dying. And so and what was really interesting about this time too is that I just with the book stuff, and also it's because my dad was dying, most of my concentration was in him. But still, old me would have felt really bad that my book was being rejected. And I would have been extra upset because I'm like, my dad is dying and my book is being rejected for 2 years. Like, can't you catch me a break here? I would have felt really defeated by the universe. Um, but I didn't. I didn't ever feel that way. I was just like in the moment with my dad and flowing and trying to make every moment good and count. And then 2 months before my father passed away, 2 publishing companies had a bidding war on my book. It was so crazy. And I was home a lot. And so my dad was hearing all of the Zoom calls and all of the negotiations and all the things that were happening. And he was so excited. So it gave him excitement as he's dying, you know? And and it was just what I really what I really got from this is that, even though we think things aren't happening and going our way, there's all this
It still
stuff.
happened at exactly the right time, right?
And my
Yeah.
friend kept saying that to me. She goes, everything is about timing. Everything is timing. And I was like, I don't believe you. I want to believe you. Like I wanted to believe that the universe is working for me. I chose to believe it. But choosing to believe it and really knowing it inside, very different. I
Yes.
was choosing to believe it, but and also this divine timing. And they say that when you just let something, you do the work and you let something go, that what's going to come to you is bigger than you ever imagined. And I'm like, that's not true, because everything I've imagined has been not as big. And the imagining has been bigger than what's actually happened. So again, I wanted to believe that, but it wasn't true in my life. But then with this, I really did let it go. And I then two publish. I never thought I would have been happy if one publishing company came in, but then two came in, and then they had a bidding war. So my book advance was bigger than I ever thought it could be, especially as a first-time author. And then it's so funny. This is like so funny, all about timing. This is why you can't take rejection seriously. Because the whole premise of my book is that confusion is a virtue. And the reason why these two publishing companies wanted it is because they said, we've never heard this before. And they said most self-help books are a rewrite of other self-help books.
Hmm.
But yours is completely unique. And we've never heard someone say confusion is a virtue. And I was like, I have been saying this for 7 years. And, it's like, hello, I have been screaming this at the top of my lungs for 7 years about my brand. And like, only like some people have gotten it. And then I've been rejected for 2 years by publishing companies. And then all of the sudden, two people realize that it's brilliant. And so it's like, you just can't take it. You just can't take the rejection seriously. You have to believe in yourself and believe in your message and keep going.
And surrender. I think that's really because one of the lessons in my life was really just surrender. And yeah, sometimes it's so hard because we just like grab on and, like we want it so badly, and it's all going to fall in place when you just decide to trust that it's all going to come to you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's it's so true. It's so true. And you like the surrender part is so huge. Whether you say, surrender to it, let it go. Let it go. I think surrender is better actually than let it go, because I think when people think of letting go, they think of like, now it's going away and I work so hard on it.
Yeah.
And
Surrender is more like surrendering to a bigger power, to the universe. I don't really like to say God. So for me, it's the universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Whatever you want to call the force, right?
Yeah.
It's like, just surrender to it, surrender. And, thinking about it too, I definitely surrendered to it. And also and what's really beautiful about when you surrender, you don't suffocate the very thing you were trying to give life to.
Yeah.
Like in relationships too, you can look at it like a relationship, like when you really love somebody so much and you almost like suffocate it, like because, you get scared and then you try to control it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to leave me. And then you actually, by all of that, instead of surrendering to the love and letting it flow, it's like you suffocate all the love out of the person.
But it's so funny. It's easier in some areas of your life to really follow your heart, surrender, than in others, right? So with love, we have all our baggage. For example, for me, it's like Pandora's box. I don't even want to open it anymore. Like, I don't even want to think about it.
I feel like honestly, most women now are like that. Like I feel like most women now are kind of, with the dating and the continuous dating and the disappointment.
It's so exhausting. I remember when I was doing that, and I wouldn't even have time for that. When you're starting, when you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to build something, I'm starting a second business now. It's like, no.
Yeah, and like for me, at one point I was really trying to find a relationship because again, I was raised Catholic, my father from Italy, old school Italian, wants me to get married and have a family. And my mom, she's Irish American, so she really is like, do what makes you happy, whatever, but my dad was on me about it. And so I was really trying and I was trying for my father. That's the funny part as I realized like I was trying to find a man to bring to my dad to be like, I got a man, you know,
Non-successful
but
yet in life. Yeah.
yeah,
Like all
you
those
know,
expectations from society is crazy. Yeah.
it
But this
is,
is one of the things that really gets easier when you get older, I think, at least
yeah,
my
it does.
experience.
No,
So,
it does. It does. And I just honestly, even with my dad before he passed away, I also, I've surrendered to be trying to find a relationship because I'm like, you know what? I don't even think I want one. I
mm,
don't even, because I'm not willing to give up and sacrifice certain things that would put me into a relationship. But I'm willing to sacrifice and do certain things for travel, for my book, for my, certain things. So I'm like, okay, and that's also part of deconfusing yourself and getting to know yourself is kind of going like, okay, what do I really want? And honestly, it's such a beautiful time for women right now because we have the option.
yeah.
If we don't get married and don't have kids, we're not looked at as these spinsters that nobody wanted, that are crazy or like wild hippies or rejects of society. But I mean, back in the day, I mean, they would be like, oh, well, what's wrong with her? She must be crazy if she's not
I think it
married.
can still happen, but definitely less. But also like as the society with the economical opportunities that we have, that's such a big part of it to have that freedom because you don't have to rely on a husband anymore for
Yes.
money or anything. Or I don't know, like I know from my mother in the 70s, I think when she wanted to get a passport, she had to get the signature from her husband. I think you had to get the signature to to open a bank account, things like
Oh,
that.
yes, 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 yes,
I mean,
exactly.
even back then, I'm like, I don't know why women married because if they've been single, they wouldn't have needed that.
Well, the thing is, though, is
Uh,
by giving women that,
mm.
now women are like, well, women want a relationship. Women are
Men
nurtured.
too. I mean, there are also those studies that show that actually women who are not in a relationship are happier
Yes,
at a
I
certain
love
age,
it.
right? Men not. Men,
Yeah,
especially like when they get older, they need a relationship.
well,
They need a woman to tell them to take care of themselves and to go to see a doctor. And I
no,
don't really like. For me, it's like the idea of having a partner who's maybe also older that I have to take care of him. It turns me off.
I know. No, I totally agree with that. The thing is, for me, I have not found someone where I'm like, it, you're, and this is horrible, but like you're worth the hassle. It's like I haven't met somebody who I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to be nervous about somebody cheating on me, or if I'm going to be nervous about this, or if I'm not going to take care of somebody financially, like that's just not going to happen. Like I'm not willing to do that. I know some women are, but like I'm not willing to do that. I wouldn't feel good about that. There's just certain things it's like nothing's fit right in my life. Like I haven't found the person that fits. There's always something that I'm just like, you know what? I'm not willing to put up with that or I'm not willing to
Yeah.
do that. And that's totally fine. And honestly, if there is a woman who wants to, that's totally fine too. I'm all about find out who you are, love yourself, have a good relationship with yourself, and then go after the things you want. If that thing is a good relationship, then go find that good relationship and have those babies, girl. But if yours, if it's like starting businesses or
Yeah.
traveling or, you know, um, whatever, I'm just all about people do. what's right for you and enjoy the adventure of life, even when it's hard.
Yeah, definitely. And it might also be a phase that right now, I mean, you have your book that's super exciting and your business. What are your goals there? Do you have like a plan, or is it just like I just listen to my inner voice and everything is going to
Pretty
happen?
much that. Pretty much the inner voice thing. I'm like it's the last few years, it's been almost 2 years now that my father passed away, which is crazy that it's been almost 2 years. But before that, like his passing and then dealing with the mourning, that was really hard. That was like really, really hard. And and then now with the book coming out, it's like I put so much work into all of this because there was a lot of rewriting that needed to be done, and was working with the publisher and everything. So I was like mourning my dad and doing all of that work. And now is this time where it's like, okay, I'm more comfortable with the fact that my father isn't here, you know? I am now all this PR stuff is happening with the book, and I'm really just trying to enjoy it all. I'm not trying to go, okay, what's next? Because people ask me, what's next? And I'm like, well, I definitely have ideas. I'm always gonna have ideas for what's next because and these ideas really excite me. Like I do want to write a second book. I would love it if Confused Girl got turned into like a series. I really do see it as like a television series. I think it would be amazing. Like that would be a dream of mine. So I have these goals and I have these dreams. But right now, I'm like, I want to sit in the joy of all of this. Like, I want to sit in the joy of doing this podcast and doing this magazine article. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing the audio.
Yeah.
I'm going to be recording the audio of the book. And I'm like, I want to do an amazing job on that. And I want to enjoy that. And so I'm gonna be in like a real studio with a producer. And they're paying me to do it. And it's just, it's like I want to enjoy all of this. I don't want to rush to the next thing. And because I think society is all about telling you you're not good enough. So now that you've accomplished this, you better jump on over to the next thing because you got to keep proving that you're good enough.
Yeah,
And
no, let's celebrate what you've achieved. Yes.
I'm like, no, 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 no. I feel good enough. But I also felt good enough before the book got published. And that was my main goal when I was trying to get out of my depression. I want to feel good just because I exist. And
But they
so
can still be highs, right? They're still going to be levels.
yes, exactly.
So,
Of course,
yeah.
there's gonna be, but there's always a level of it doesn't affect my self-worth. You have your bad days, you have your good days, especially I have bad PMS. Like I can be really, bummed out, couch potato, eating ice cream on the couch
Yeah,
still.
that was my last year with perimenopause. I felt like months on
Oh,
end, like I had PMS until I started taking
I'm not
hormones.
I'm not looking forward to that. Like, I'm not looking forward to
Oh,
sounds awful. But, you see yeah, I'm human, like, but my self-worth is not affected. Even if a insecurity arises, it doesn't bring me to that worthless feeling of how I used to feel. Like, that does not happen anymore. And so for me now, I'm just like, I've worked hard to get to this point. I've had to go through a lot. I'm enjoying this. And when I'm supposed to do the next thing, I will know. I will 100% know I am supposed to do the next thing.
no, yeah, definitely you will. You will.
Yes.
So, what tips do you have for confused girls or women listening?
Read my book. Read
Yes, but let's do
my
like, give
book.
like a little insight, like,
Well, I would say one thing there's a bunch of them, but I'll give you one. So I do write a chapter. It's called Mirror Mirror, and it's about comparing yourself to other people. And I think we do this a lot. And it's kind of something that's hard to avoid because the way we figure out if we're acceptable in society or if we're on the right track is you compare yourself to other people. We're taught that even in school. Like sometimes they grade on a curve. So your grade is based upon how well you measured up against other people, in sports, you know, you're just as good as how good this person is. And there is a place for that in society, right? That is part of society. There's a place for it. But even if somebody's better than you at something, there's still something you have, a gift you have that maybe they're not capable of. And so it's not about comparing your life and yourself to other people. It's about figuring out what your gift is to give to the world and giving it from a very authentic, real place inside of you and staying in your lane. My dad used to tell me, Giovanna, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. Because I'd have a tendency to look over here and want to go in somebody else's lane. But you really, when you see yourself doing that, just go, no, 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 no. I don't know what's really going on in that person's life. Everything can look really great on the outside and literally be a hell on the inside. And I have seen that so many times in my life. I don't get, now I don't get fooled because I've seen behind the curtain. And so it's like, no, 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 I don't know what's going on in their life. So I'm going to concentrate on my life and what I want. And also sometimes like envy, like when you envy somebody else, that can show you what you want. And that could be a good thing to go, okay, I want that. And so if you feel that, there's this beautiful blessing. It's called the Huna blessing. It's like a Hawaiian blessing. And they say, bless that which you desire. So, somebody's driving by in a car that you just love and want. Instead of going, oh, I want that car, and I'm imagining and creating a story about that person, just go, oh, that car is so beautiful. I'm gonna bless that car, bless that person in that car. So I think that that's a really good tool.
Yes, definitely. That's great. I never really thought about blessing. I get it. I've thought about, yeah, it's a good thing that desire sometimes, or just to learn about what you desire. Always that awareness of where's that feeling coming from? What does it really mean? But
Yeah.
blessing them, that's taking it a step further. I love that.
Yeah, I really love that too, and that's why I wrote about it once I discovered this Hawaiian blessing, because I think it removes a lack. When you're like envying somebody, it's coming from like a place of lack. Like I don't have that, and I want that. But if you could replace that with a blessing,
Yeah.
that's a place of abundance. So now, not only are you sending good vibes to them, you're bringing in good vibes. You're opening yourself up to like an abundant mindset of, oh, I deserve that. I'm gonna bring that in versus, and I don't have that, and I'm not good enough, and I'm coming from lack. You know, I- I'm all about turning the lack into abundance because life can change on a dime. It really can. You're down and out one year, and the next year you're thriving. So it really can shift.
Especially as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Especially as an entrepreneur. And I always see this entrepreneurial journey of this beautiful road of self-discovery. You learn so much about yourself. And I also feel it's this beautiful road of self-love and self-acceptance
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and I've been employed for so long, right? So for nearly 15 years, and then I've been freelancing, but I did the same job as a freelancer. So I wasn't prepared for being an entrepreneur, but I can't see myself going back, working ever. Yeah, having
Yeah.
that freedom and I think what's in the beginning, it was the freedom that was the biggest motivational for me. But now it's also that potential.
Mhm. Yes, and I think I think it's really hard also when you don't have a boss and you don't have somebody over you to go back into that because 'cause you're like, "Why are you telling me what to do? I'm an adult." You know? It's, like, hard to go back to that. Um, but yeah, and I think, the entrepreneurial journey is a very spiritual one as well, even though maybe some people don't practice that, but you have to have some level of trust, like,
And
to
awareness, I think.
awareness.
Otherwise, you just don't know why something isn't working.
Yep. Yep. You have to have like critical thinking, awareness. You have to be intuitive as well. You have to be very intuitive about who you do business with. Like I have a friend of mine who's like a celebrity interior designer. And at this one point she was like super busy with all of these things. And I mean, she needs the money, right? Because Los Angeles is very expensive to live in. And this one client of hers, I mean, we're talking, he had probably few $100 million. And she's like, I just have a feeling I shouldn't do business with him. She's like, I think he's the type of like narcissistic guy who's going to make my life misery. He's going to want a lot of attention. He's going to try to chip away at the cost of everything, even though he's like very, very wealthy. And she went against her intuition and taking him on as a client almost took her business under because he was so demanding and he also had the ability to ruin her career if he wanted to. So she had to be very bending over backwards and she ended up doing a lot of stuff for free for it. I mean, it was a horrible experience. And she goes, and I remember that lunch when she's like, I just have this feeling I shouldn't take
Mhm.
it. I should just tell him I'm too busy. And so but she learned from that, bounced right back, she's fine, but it's that kind of intuition that you have to be willing to say no to something that looks good, but you feel, this isn't good," because maybe you do it once and so you survive, but if you do it a few times, you might not survive it.
Yeah, yeah. Think that's for me being I started my yoga journey before I started my business. So I was so lucky to have that. You probably too, that you already have those spiritual tools and that self-awareness and self-management tools in a way before you go on that journey. And then
Yes,
now it's about bringing it all together. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. It's like I think if you can merge the 2 worlds together, you're gonna do something really cool. And you're gonna learn a lot. And I think, for me too, I think a lot of times people don't start something because they're afraid of failure. And I don't actually believe in failure. I believe that if you tried something, and it might not have met your expectations, but it wasn't a failure. Because
You're
you could
still there where you are, right? So
uh,
often we think we failed, but when we look at where we are, what we have, it's all there. And
yeah.
yeah,
And it's it's not a failure. I mean, I could have looked at my yoga wear line as like a failure because I'm like, okay, well, it did good for 5 years, but then it stopped making me money. It didn't grow. It didn't scale. So I could literally, because I that's what I wanted. It did not meet my expectations, but it gave me income for 5 years. It let me travel the world and write this book that is a success. That's not a failure.
but you're still
But
selling your collection, right? Or the yoga clothes?
well, yeah, I'm still selling it and people can still buy it and it still sells. It's just, you got to sell like a lot to make a living off of it.
Yeah.
So, but so for me, it's like, that's not a failure. That's actually a win. And anything, this is all a perspective, and so it's like, what perspective do you want to choose? Like, do you wanna choose, "Oh, I was a failure," or, "Hey, I learned this, I learned this, I learned that, and it just didn't meet my expectations." And, I have to say, it's crazy because before the book, like, none of the things that I have done met my expectations. But with this book, it 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 surpassed my expectation. Like, I was even told, by my agent I wasn't gonna be on the cover. Granted, there's a picture of me on the cover. It's really small. I'm, like, sitting on the G, but, um, I'm on the cover. But I was told by my agent I wasn't on the cover, and I really thought that that was my dad in spirit world talking to the graphic designer. I thought it was him going, "Put her on the cover, put her on the cover." And because even when the sales department got the cover, they were like, "Yeah, we're thinking of taking you off the cover because" I don't know, I guess books sell better if there isn't somebody on the cover, especially if you're not a big celebrity. And I said to them, I said, "Hey, listen, everyone I've showed the cover loves me on the cover. They think it's really cute. But if you don't want me on the cover and you don't think that that's a good thing, then you could take me off. Like, I'm okay with it." And so they're like, "Well, we're going to ask like this big marketing person and see." And then I'm on the cover. So I was like, "Oh my God, that was so my dad. That was so my dad." And then also they told me that I was going to have to audition, to possibly do the audio on my book, that I might not be hired. That was in the contract that I might not be hired to do it, but I would get to audition to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want someone who's really, really bad creating an
Yeah,
audio version, right?
right, exactly, exactly. So funny. I got an email, a month ago. "So we want to set up doing the audiobook." And I was like, I emailed my agent. I said, "Oh my gosh, do I not have to audition?" And she's like, "Nope, you're doing it." And I'm like,
Okay, they had your videos, etc., right?
I guess so. I guess they had seen me on podcasts and seen my videos and thought, okay, she's gonna be fine. But it's just, it's so great. It's so great to not have that expectation and then it's like, oh my gosh, this is way better. I love this.
No, I love your story. Thank you for sharing it and also like opening up your background and your family. So,
Thank you.
when is the book coming out and where can people learn more about you?
So it's going to officially be out May 13th, but you can pre-order it on Amazon. You can pre-order it. It's called Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos. So you could just go to Amazon and type that in, or you can go to my website and confusedgirlinthecity.com and find the links there. So for Europeans, because I have had quite a few people from Europe message me on Instagram and ask me, and you can easily and not very expensively get the digital copy, like the Kindle,
Yeah.
Amazon. And eventually it should be in bookstores in Europe as well. But for right now, you could definitely pre-order the digital copy. And I'm doing this really cool giveaway. So if you do order it, whether it's the hard copy or the digital copy, if you email me, you could find my email on my website. If you email me a screenshot of your purchase, you will enter to win a 2-night hosted stay in Maui at an amazing resort, and also $100 gift card from my store.
Wow. That's fun.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll send you the link for that. I'll send you the links,
So
the
yeah,
giveaway.
I add the links to the show notes for people and to the post. So, well, thank you. That was so much fun. I feel like we could go on talking for hours.
You know, me
I
too.
want to open a bottle of wine and just
I
chat.
know, right? And well, it's morning here for me, but I got my coffee.
Yeah. So thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Giovanna.
thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.